Hi, Vianne. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's take a look at what you've written here. Your first set of essays, let's see. Education is a vital part of many involved, importantly, children. Their well being is discussed often and thoroughly, but it still remains rather unclear what the best solution can be. I believe that children are likely to benefit more from extensively education, which is not conservative, but also not a place for mere entertainment. Okay. Um, I feel like your grammar is good, but some of the language, and more specifically, some of the vocabulary is not. Because reading your introduction, if I had to guess what the topic of this essay is, I'm not really able to do that. So, a well written introduction would allow me to pretty much figure out what the question is based on what you wrote. And that didn't happen here. And I think part of it is because you were a little unfocused and some of the language as well. So um, let's kind of pull it apart a little bit. Education is a vital part of children's lives. That's it. That's all you needed to say here. Okay. And then here, you're talking about well being. But instead of talking about well being, which is rather broad, you should have talked about whether children benefit from more enjoyment in their education or whether they benefit from purely academic education. So that's what your focus should have been here. This debate, this kind of controversy here. That's what needed to be covered. Okay? So this sentence for me should have been replaced with something that really mirrored the topic a little more closely. Okay? So I believe that children are likely to benefit more from, you didn't mean extensively. First of all, because it's an adverb in front of a noun, and you don't want that, okay? So it should have been an adjective. But even if it had been extensive, I don't really care for that either because entertainment in education can also provide extensive education. It's just not really a collocation we use, extensive education. So I would have changed it. I believe that children are likely to benefit more from academic education. And then I don't think you meant conservative. It didn't really fit here. So then academic, which is not conservative, also not a place for mere entertainment. Yeah, so I don't think the word conservative fit here either. So in this sentence, like I said, I think there was a problem with some of your vocabulary. Extensively, conservative weren't really right as far as I was concerned. All right. The second sentence had that problem I already talked about. Okay, so with that, let's move on, shall we? Firstly, children spend half their lives undergoing education. Unfortunately, too many school curriculums, you don't need the apostrophe here, are too strict and severe. This is because, no comma here, the school's educational program is having wrong intentions, not is having, but has. The program has wrong intentions regarding the comprehension of information and the evaluation of existing skills. For example, a way more affirming approach. Don't use this a way more. It's very slang. It's certainly not appropriate for an essay like this. You could have said a far more affirming approach would be to affirm. You just said affirming and affirm, so I don't like that. So a far more positive approach would be to affirm already existing skills from certain children, as well as finding new vessels for them. All right, that's not clear. What do you mean to affirm already existing skills? So this is rather confusing. It's not clear the message you're trying to tell us. So that skills are, and this is not a full sentence here. So that skills become the school's and pupils' currency. This is a fragment. There's no verb here. Okay. This is only part of a clause, but there's no main clause. Okay. So it's a problem. Therefore, with the affirmation and evaluation from schools, children probably would start to enjoy the curriculum more. Okay. Again, affirmation, affirming, affirm. So you really need to vary up the vocabulary. And part of the problem with the vocabulary is that it doesn't make your meaning clear. I'm really not sure what this paragraph is about. You said the curriculum is too strict and severe. You said that there are wrong intentions, but I didn't understand this. You talked about an affirming approach, but I didn't understand this. So grammar is okay, but your message is getting lost, partially because of incorrect vocabulary. So I can't say, reading this paragraph, that I'm clear about what you mean here. All right, let's move on. Now, I don't know why you have secondly here. I think you weren't sure which one fit. When you use firstly, you're supposed to use secondly, but it's only appropriate in IELTS if you're arguing the same side of the argument. If all of a sudden you're switching sides and you're talking about, say, for example, why these academic only institutions are fabulous, then no, you wouldn't write secondly. You would have something which shows contrast because you're talking about two different sides of the argument. Okay, so I'm not really sure what fits here. I'm suspecting that neither admittedly or secondly goes. So let's see. Education will still open doors in the future. There is nothing wrong with education in itself. This is due to the fact that gaining knowledge and therefore finding confidence is still very crucial for the growth of a child. Take, for example, okay, that, no comma, only 7% globally hold a bachelor's degree, which means that there is a hidden barrier and not everyone can find access to institutions. Despite this, it also indicates that it is important to rethink how we educate properly and accordingly. Teaching should remain the heart of learning, but it has to be reshaped. I have no idea what this paragraph is about, Vianne. I mean, education is important. There's nothing wrong with it. We gain knowledge and confidence. Yeah, but what does that have to do with academic only education or entertainment and education? So you haven't really answered the question. You've used sentences, you've used words, but none of this does anything to really answer the question. Okay? So for me, there are a lot of problems, not just in the previous paragraph, but in this one as well. To conclude from the examples and reasons given, I firmly agree with the latter. The latter what? The latter only works if in the previous sentence you had two different things combined with an and. Okay? That would have made sense for you to then use the latter. But here, I mean, it's so distant from the question, from the prompt, that you absolutely cannot use it here. So, despite the few drawbacks, such as providing access to institutions, I strongly believe, no comma here, that schools can be those vessels where education can happen. If it is ready to rethink its methods, oh, okay, if it is ready to rethink its methods, it is clearly visible, no comma, that in the future schools will have to take action. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. I still don't know what your opinion is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, it sounds kind of like this was in favor of entertainment and this was kind of in favor of schools being educational only, but I have to really, really look into it to read it. So I need you to make all of this far more clear, far more um, just kind of self-evident. So, the examiner can't, doesn't have to read the paragraph twice or say, maybe this is what the, candidate needs or means or whatever. So I need to be clearer. Okay. All right. Let's see what else you've got for us here. All right, so let's see what you have now in the second essay. Deciding and understanding how children can improve best in their life and accompany them has been widely discussed. There are many endeavors for children's development. I believe that a more balanced approach between enjoyment and learning is a key for their growth. All right, so I see here a problem that I saw with the previous essay, that you haven't really rephrased the topic. I mean, you've tried using your own language, but it's not a rephrasing that makes us understand what the topic is. Okay? So, deciding and understanding how children can improve best in their life. This is not the same way as saying understanding how children can best develop skills. Okay? It's not saying the same thing. And this accompany them, I don't understand it either. Who accompany them? What accompany them? So you've got some language here that is rather confusing. Okay, and then there are many endeavors for child's development. The word endeavors is wrong. It doesn't help you here. So I just feel that some of the vocabulary is really not doing you a great service here, okay? So it could have been just a little different. You could have just said deciding and understanding how to best help children develop. It has been widely discussed. While some believe reading is vital. Others believe that partaking in an activity with children is more effective. Okay, so something like that would have been a better way of doing this. All right, let's move on. Firstly, reading in itself is a positive activity and pastime, but doing so with a child, the focus of reading is rather narrowing. Are there some awkwardness here? So, firstly, reading in itself is a positive activity, but doing so with a child, let me see how to fix this without changing too much. But doing so with a child, how about this? Can be rather limiting. That's it. This is because reading, you already said in itself, don't do it twice, okay? This is because, no comma, reading itself is too concentrated. No. This is because reading is more focused than it is liberating. For example, many children are having difficulties centering themselves accordingly and are afraid. I don't understand this. What do you mean they can't center themselves and are afraid? This is rather unclear. This will lead to further complications, like what? And it is rather difficult to differentiate between the positive and negative effects. Therefore, although reading is a beautiful hobby, as a shared activity together with a child, it can be more detrimental. So what you really have done here is you haven't made yourself clear. You talk about not centering yourself. You're talking about it being too concentrating and not liberating. You talk about it, having children that are afraid. And quite frankly, a lot of this is really unclear. I don't know what a lot of this means, okay? Because I feel like some of your vocabulary is incorrect, and I also don't feel like you really supported it in a way that clarifies your vocabulary, all right? So I want you to be careful with a lot of this. It's a little problematic. Let's keep going. Secondly, activities together with children which are entertaining, not are being. Let's change this because I don't like this tense are being remembered. There's a lot of awkwardness here. Secondly, activities together with children which are entertaining. Now, this is unclear too because what is entertaining? The children? All right, careful where this relative clause goes. So, secondly, activities which are entertaining are often remembered positively by children. Or, that's awkward too. The whole sentence really, I just feel needs to be reworked. Why don't we do something else like this? Secondly, doing activities or doing entertaining activities with children can create positive memories for a lifetime. That to me makes a lot more sense and is a lot clearer. This is due to the fact that, no comma, the brain is more likely to store useful experiences. Takes, for example, a recent, all right, no comma, and then it's not a recent research, it's a recent study, okay? Or just recent research without the A. So take, for example, recent research from Harvard. Yeah, if you're going to use take, for example, then you have to change the rest of the sentence. So let's do that. Take, for example, no comma, recent research from Harvard. Take, for example, I'm sorry, I'm really trying to fix this in a way that makes sense and is grammatically correct. So, take, for example, recent research from Harvard, which indicated that 94% of 5 to 16-year-olds memorize pleasing school lessons more compared to unpleasant ones. Okay. Consequently, the learning outcome is much higher, and this will make way for creativity as well as long-lasting growth. All right, so here you can see that I struggle a little bit with some of the language here, but there's another problem. Remember that what is this essay talking about? It's talking about what leads to better skills development and creativity. Okay? Reading or some sort of fun activity. That's what the essay is about. Here, you basically told me what's wrong with reading. All right, it creates all these complications. Whether it was clear or not, you were telling us what's wrong with reading. And then here, you're talking about activities, and that's fine. But where are the skills development? And where is the creativity? You talk about it making way for creativity, but you didn't really convince us. You didn't really talk about what creativity is gained from doing a fun activity. So I absolutely feel like it's underdeveloped. Okay. Um, so what I really wanted to see here um, was not maybe that they create positive memories, because that's not a skill. I know we fixed around the language to make it grammatically correct, but quite frankly, even with the sentence corrected, it's not on topic. All right, we're not talking about why this is a positive thing. We're talking about something far more specific, which is does it create better skills development and more creativity? So that's what your focus should have been on in this paragraph. So how about activities? Doing activities with children creates a variety of skills that cannot be gained from reading alone. Okay, you could have said, for example, drawing with a child helps develop fine motor skills as well as improve creativity. Children, this is because children use to learn pens, crayons, even paintbrushes, and they are allowed to develop their creativity by imagining, um, you know, imaginary scenery and people and even creatures. Okay, so that's the way you want to talk about this, talking about what skills can be developed and how creativity is developed as well. All right, so to conclude from the examples and reasons given, comma here, I firmly agree, no comma here, that shared actions with children should be likable for what they are compared to a singular and concentrated pastime such as just reading. In the future, this will improve their whose creative sides. Careful, it's not clear who there is. And through that, they will grow in other parts of life as well. Get rid of that also and put in as well there. Okay, so you can see that there's some issues here. I thought a lot of this was unclear. I think it's partially because of vocabulary, and I think it's also partially because some of it is just not developed enough. And it was also not entirely on topic. Okay, so there's some things that I definitely want you to work on in this first set of essays. Okay, but you're just at the beginning, so the only place to go is up, and I'm sure that you will improve as we continue on in the course. Okay, go ahead, correct these essays, send us a new set of essays together, and we'll see if you can apply some of the things we talked about here in that set. Good luck.